Hello again, everyone. This is the Alak Emmett channel, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon. And this is the Yalak Study Notes Torah Commentary, another lesson for April 26th, 2021. Last week I uploaded a lesson for April 19th in the Yalak Study Notes Torah Commentary titled The Voice of Eli. And I want to talk some more about this Eli problem. As I mentioned in that lesson, the voice of Eli, that Eli knew his judgment was coming. And that's because the heart knows. The heart knows. I was mainly in 1 Samuel chapter 3. Today I'm going to be in 1 Samuel chapter 2. I'm going to take a look at how Eli was sabotaging Samu-El's growth and walk with the Lord. The same way a lot of pastors, teachers, mores, spiritual teachers will sabotage the growth of other people under them, take advantage of them. And when these leaders find that they were wrong in something, especially something major, some major doctrine, they refuse to change and teach the people because they don't want to tell the people that they're wrong. So they keep people living the wrong way, doing the wrong thing. And our people have been so led astray for so long that we really need to take a look at what we're doing, what we're choosing to believe. In the most ancient times, there were no Hebrew Israelites. You just got the different African groups, whatever they call themselves. And we know later on we had one very powerful kingdom that was taking down the kingdom of Egypt, or Kemet. And that kingdom, as far as I can tell, is coming back, and then we will do even greater things. But we have been taught to take on all kinds of different religions and different gods and so on. And I'm focusing here from a Bible-based religion, but asking us to take a look at what our teachers are telling us. Have we found the right message, the right way back to the Most High? Are our teachers leading us the wrong way, or do they continue to sabotage us by telling us the wrong thing about our history, but making it sound like God has sent them to tell us these things? So, in this Torah commentary lesson, let's briefly examine the sabotage that Eli was doing to Samu-El. I'll start out with a few verses from 1 Samuel chapter 2. I'll read verse 27, verse 30 to 32, and then 34 to 35. So 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 27, and it reads, And there came a man of God unto Eli, and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Did I plainly appear unto the house of thy father when they were in Egypt in the Pharaoh's house? So Eli had his children, his sons, doing wicked things in the temple and leading the people astray by their transgressions, the way they were living and whatever they were teaching the people. So the sons were not living right, and Eli watched this go along. Now it seems he did say something to them at some point, but he obviously didn't cut it off. He could have kicked them out of the temple. I mean, if God can kick you, Eli, out of the temple, why don't you kick out your sons? Then the Most High would raise up someone else, but not judge Eli as harsh as that, because he protected the temple and the way of the Lord. But he didn't. He didn't protect the way of the Lord and the temple, so judgment came down upon him and his sons. Verse 30 to 32. Wherefore the Lord God of Israel saith, I said indeed that thy house and the house of thy father should walk before me forever. But now the Lord saith, Be it far from me. For them that honor me I will honor, and they that despise me shall be lightly esteemed. Behold, the days come, that I will cut off thine arm, and the arm of thy father's house, that there shall not be an old man in thine house. So there's a judgment coming. And thou shalt see an enemy in my habitation, in all the wealth which God shall give Israel, and there shall not be an old man in thine house forever. Before it got to chapter 3, when the light was going out in the temple and so on, that means that, and his eyes got dim, that means that Eli already knew judgment was upon him and his days were numbered. And the days of his family line, they were numbered. He already knew the judgment, so the judgment was there even though he let the lamp go out and treated Samuel the way that he did. And brought Samuel to the place where he was telling Samuel, go back again, because I didn't call you. Samuel was like, hey, but you did call me, and he kept sending him back. So I was saying in that lesson, The Voice of Eli, last week, that Eli knew it was the Lord from the very first time. And you're going to see as I go through this lesson that Eli would have known that it was the Lord from the first time, because Eli was skilled, he was experienced, he was older, much older, so he knew the ways of the Lord, he knew the voice of the Lord, because he would have heard that voice many times. He knew when God was dealing with someone. I mean, Samuel's mother asking for a child, praying for a child, and he can so quickly just speak the word of the Lord and say you're going to have a child and so on, and then she had the children and so on. Like he had such a strong, clear, pure connection with God that you and I don't have today, so that he can just say that and it come to pass. So this man already knew the voice of the Lord, because he would have heard the voice of God tell him, this woman will have children, she will get her prayers answered right here. So he knew already what the voice of the Lord sounded like, and it was easy for him on the spot just to hear from God. So when he hears Samuel hearing from God, he would have known God is speaking to Samuel, and Samuel is now at the age where he is beginning to hear the voice for himself. He knew God was calling Samuel, but he hid it. He said, go back and lay down. Eli was sabotaging Samuel. He was already cursed and done for, and he's like, I don't care, I'm going to make it happen to you. Whatever bad stuff is going to happen, I'm going to delay you. Eli knew the child Samuel was hearing God's voice, but he tried to hide it from him, to sabotage. Just like when somebody else can't get ahead, something isn't working well for them, so they're going to cause you to be delayed, and they're going to show you hate and so on. They're going to hold you back in any way they can, or they will make life as difficult for you as possible. That's what Eli was doing. You probably haven't heard it taught like this. All the years I never heard this taught like this in the Christian church. But this is what Eli was doing. We just more used to hearing about Samuel being raised up and he's going to Eli, and we just say Eli's children were not right before the Lord. But you're hearing now that Eli was trying to sabotage Samuel's growth and connection to God. Just like the false teachers you are under, who will not take you back to your more real to life history. That as blacks, you had a different life and you were sabotaged at some point in the past and taken over, colonized and all that stuff, and destroyed and slaughtered and scattered and so on. They will not take you back. They give you some newer religious type of teaching that has nothing to do with what the most ancients of our people were like. So you got to search to find the old paths, the old ways. But when we see scripture like that, like I think that's Jeremiah 6:16, the old paths, what we more think of is the old paths, the old Hebrew Israelite paths, because it was written in the Bible. But no, search for the old paths from people who were living of your people before a Bible, a Torah was ever written. That's how far back you should take this. Not no old paths to see Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, how they started. How did the people start out before there was an Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob ever in somebody's mind? So Jeremiah 6:16, thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old paths. Where is a good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. And now, if you are standing and looking and searching and putting your hands over your eyes by your brow and you're looking far, you're searching for the paths and you're looking as far as you can. You're asking around, where's the old paths, the ancient paths? Somebody's going to tell you about the Bible, they're going to tell you about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and so on. But at some point, you're searching for black history, and at some point, you're not going to come across the paths of the ancient people in the Sahara era when it was wet and very moist and so on, and there was different life. You're not going to search back for the farther times when they said we're here on earth for more than 6,000 years. Way before Adam lived, we were living. You're not going to search past that and wonder how is that possible when the Bible says Adam and earth 6,000 years ago and Adam created in the garden. So you're not going to search back farther to find more stuff and then make a decision. No, you just stop where the Bible says you should stop. But the teachers teaching you these things, they sabotage you. The same way they're shortchanging you is the same way Eli was trying to shortchange Samu-El. To the point where he even let the lamp go out and did not care to let Samuel know, don't let that lamp go out. If it goes out, I can't tell because my eyes don't work properly. I will not be able to tell if this is just whatever. He just can't tell. So he won't say to Samuel, look out for that light, don't let it go out, because he was sabotaging Samu-El to make Samuel not care enough about the lamp. Verse 34 to 35. And this shall be a sign unto thee. So remember, this is the man of God that came to Eli, and he's telling him all these things. So Eli knew his judgment was upon him. He knew, so he also now knew that the Most High would raise up someone else. Now, who else would that person be? It would have to be Samu-El. So why was he trying to sabotage Samuel, not teaching him properly all the things and sending him back? If you are old and your eyes are dim, you can't see properly anymore, and you know your days are numbered because God sent a man to tell you your days are numbered, he's going to kill out your children, your family line is done. Who's going to take care of the temple and the things of the Lord? It would only make sense that that person would be Samuel because he's the only one there that's so close to you learning the stuff already in the temple and ministering before the Lord. He's the one. So Eli knew that it would be Samuel who would be raised up, but would not say to him the first time, it is the Lord. He just sent him away. So verse 34 and 35, and this shall be a sign unto thee that shall come upon thy two sons, on Hophni and Phinehas. In one day they shall die, both of them, and I will raise me up a faithful priest that shall do according to that which is in mine heart and in my mind, and I will build him a sure house, and he shall walk before mine anointed forever. So he says he's going to raise up a faithful priest that will do the stuff right from his heart. Now, how could Eli, knowing the voice of the Lord so clear, not know that this faithful priest would be Samuel? Because no one else is in line but Samuel. Because Eli, if he can hear from God so sharp and so clear, he would know and be able to see and tell that it's going to be Samuel. Now picture this. In your camp, your Hebrew camp, you got somebody who's working with the leader that runs the camp. They're tight. And they know all the intimate details of how the camp runs, all the behind-the-scenes stuff when the teaching is not going on, all the business part of it, all the government part of it, all the everything that goes on with it. They know it. So who's going to be raised up there now to take the spot should that leader come out of the camp or pass away or something like that? It would most likely be the person who knows all the intimate details of the camp. Just like when I was a small boy in Jamaica, my pastor is like, if anything ever happens to me, if I die tomorrow, the church should carry on. And so he had this elder at the time. He's now passed away as well. It was Elder John Hewitt. Later became bishop, the pastor and bishop, and now he passed away as well. But Elder Hewitt was very, very, very close in the ministry and the operation of the church. He was the assistant pastor, the main elder in the church. So it made sense that when my pastor at the time was when my pastor finally retired, he's still alive, thankfully. The one who took over, he passed away, but the original pastor, he's still alive, but of course retired for a long time now. When he retired, it automatically just fell to the one who was the second pastor in the church anyway, the elder that was running the show. So if anyone would look at it now, my pastor would have known that Elder Hewitt was going to take over, or anybody in the church would just know, because we all knew it. Even though I was a child, I knew when my pastor steps down, Elder Hewitt will be the next pastor. And he turned out to be the next pastor and became the bishop as well. And I heard about that even years after I left the church. It finally happened. Yeah, because you just know. Because he was in everything that the church had to deal with. He was practically running the church with my pastor when I was a boy. So it's the same way here now. If Eli is getting judgment, God sends a man to tell him and then says at the same time, I'm going to raise up somebody. Eli can look and see, Samuel was already ministering in the temple. I'm already teaching him stuff and getting him familiar with stuff and so on. So it just makes sense to Eli that this is the person. It even said, I'll raise me up a faithful priest, and Samuel was there as a boy, faithful. Even Eli would look at it and say his mother would take him there and so on when he was younger, because he was lent to the Lord, right? So she brought him to the Lord, and he was ministering and so on. So it's a clear setup that this youngster was being set up in the temple in the work of the Lord. How could Eli just miss that, but can get an on-the-spot word whenever he wants it? No, Eli knew every time he looked at Samuel that this Samuel that I blessed when I blessed his mother and said, you're going to have a child. Eli knew he had just blessed the future takeover of his ministry and position. Eli knew it all along, but still led Samuel in a way where he would kind of divert him a little bit. I'll teach him, but not fully. The most important thing I think he should have told him all along before he got the vision was, don't let the fire, the light in the temple go out. That's too much of a spiritual significance to the light of God being on earth or being in the temple of the Lord. You can't let that go out, no matter what else. You cannot let the light go out. That is similar to the light going out in Israel. Samuel doing his chores all along, and the stuff goes out and Samuel doesn't do anything because Samuel doesn't know it's supposed to be something that he should take on. He would be concerned about it and so on, but maybe, I would imagine if that was me, I'd be like, the holiness surrounding that and the set apartness of all that, the light and so on in the temple, I can't just touch that unless I am specifically invited to touch it or instructed to handle it. So he could have just been keeping his mouth shut. I will let Eli handle this. Let him tell me. I can't just walk up in there, just like not everybody could just run up into the temple, right? So of course, Samuel's going to know this stuff is going on, but I don't want to cross lines here, because he had such a reverence for God that if he crossed lines, he could get some kind of judgment. Just like when David was trying to move the ark, and the ark, the animals tumbled, and one man tried to grab it, and next thing you know, bam, the Lord struck him. And so they had to divert, and I think the guy died, and then the ark was taken to somebody's house. I can't remember the name of the guy, Obed-Edom or whatever it was. I can't remember the story now. But so they had to divert because somebody tried to do something good, but it turned out bad. So now, if you look at that as some kind of a precept, something to help you understand now, Samuel can't just go and rush up on the light. What if there's certain ritual that has to be performed in order to light it? Samuel isn't trained in that yet, so he can't just handle that and take it over just because Eli is dim. Eli must train him. So it's a really, really strange thing. And to see that on top of that, when he knows God is raising up Samuel, then when God calls him and Eli knows the voice of God, Eli still hid that and said, just go back and lay down. Look, when I was younger, I was going to Bible college and whatever else I did, and I was preaching here, there, and traveling and preaching and whatever. People could tell, and my pastors could tell. They could tell. Even my friends would tell. You're called for this. You should be a preacher. People said all kinds of stuff to me. I had pastors when I was finishing Bible college who were fighting over me, wanting me to come to their church, to work in their church, because that's how it was in Bible school. Well, the Bible school I went to, when you're done, pastors would take you. And I was an assistant pastor one summer because one pastor wanted me, and then another pastor wanted me, another pastor. And I'm just a youngster, but they're grabbing for you, right? Because you look like you have promise. So they could tell in my church, and other people could tell this guy has some future with the word, with ministering the word. They could just tell when they looked at me, this guy is called, he's got a calling on his life. And even though I moved out of the church scene, I'm not in the church stuff anymore, and I don't belong to any Hebrew camp, I never did, and so on. But because there's some kind of a calling on me for that I pick up the recorder and I do it myself, just like I'm uploading stuff here now, because the call is on me. So even I myself can tell I cannot get away from this word. Like Jeremiah said, the fire is shut up within me. It's burning inside of me. So it's the same way now. Eli can tell when he looks at Samu-El, this guy is so faithful. He can tell this is how I was when I was younger, how I did it. He can tell this is how it was for me when the Lord had called me. He can tell Samu-El has his heart toward the Lord and the Lord is dealing with him. He can tell all the signs of a faithful person and of a priest in the making. He can tell the signs of someone who is called. Especially because God already said, I will raise up. So if you see someone being raised up in the temple era, then it must mean that this is the person God is raising up. But Eli thought to sabotage the whole thing and hold back and say, just go lay down and sleep. The same way they put you to sleep with their lying doctrines, their trick doctrines, and the trick history that they tell you about Israelite and so on. And as far as I'm concerned, Israelite stuff is just the Isis-Ra-El people, the children of Isis-Ra-El, from the ancient Egyptians. But somebody is tricking us and telling us all kinds of things that don't fully add up. That's why the Lord said, I will come and rescue my sheep, my people for myself. Because people aren't going to do it the way God can do it. Because people have all kinds of agendas and trickery to pull out tricks out of their sleeve and make stuff happen a certain way and so on. But the Lord says, I'm just going to have to get the job done myself. So Eli knew was sabotaging. So you got to watch your teachers. It don't matter how much you love them. You got to watch your teachers. Are they leading you in a righteous way, a truly righteous way? Or do they have agendas behind the scenes that you know nothing about? Are they working with people behind the scenes you know nothing about? Are they sent by the Most High? Or are they not? You have to figure that out. You got one life to live. Don't live it wrong. Just like myself, you have made enough mistakes over your life. Start to clean up your life now by cleaning up your mind and cleaning up your vision. So you can look and see and tell who is doing what to you. Who is leading you where. And is this the path you should go? Is this the path back to the old ways? Or is this a new religion being branded as something ancient? Telling us that Adam was speaking Hebrew in the garden? Like, what kind of madness is that? And I've heard so many people just trash that out so much. This is ridiculous. And nobody can prove that stuff. But I've heard people give the reasons why Adam could not have spoken Hebrew way back then. And that makes more sense to me from their arguments than the arguments I hear that Adam was speaking Hebrew in the Garden of Eden. And then when you look it up now, it seems Hebrew, I don't know, well, let's get off that because that's going to lead me into other stuff. But I've made a video or two about that Hebrew long time ago, like probably 3-4 years ago, to show the problem with the Hebrew. But anyway, people can be famous, well-known and so on, and look like they got their stuff together. But they may not be leading you the right way. That's all I'm saying. They could be sabotaging your own future, sabotaging your progress in this life, sabotaging your connection with the Most High. A lot of us are being led in certain ways for end time stuff, but because we are hooked up to certain teachers or certain groups or certain people, we cannot break free to do what the Most High wants, what the Creator wants, because we are connected to the people who look like they will lead us there but will not because they got their own plans. and they work on the side of evil. You got a few more years left to live, maybe 2-3 more decades left to live in your life and so on. So you live half your life already. When will you figure it out? What this life is about, that there is a massive amount of trickery on this earth. How can you just know? That's why I ended the last lesson, the voice of Eli, with the question, how can you tell your teacher is telling you the truth or leading you astray? How will you in 2021 know? You just keep accepting everything. Anyway, let's run now to the last part now, 1 Samuel chapter 2. And I'm going to show you here now that more further, that this was a sabotage, that Eli knew this stuff by knew that Samuel was called, by looking a little bit more at Samuel now. In the same chapter, 1 Samuel chapter 2, let's go back down now to verse 18. So 1 Samuel 2 verse 18, and I'll read a couple more verses as well. But Samuel ministered before the Lord, being a child girded with a linen ephod. Now look, it tells you here that he was already ministering. He is doing the work of a priest. He's doing the work of a priest. Like when I said I was an assistant pastor twice, one summer in the Bible school, and then after I finished Bible school, I was doing that again for just a very short time, like a couple months or whatever it was, or a year. I can't remember how long it was. It's been so long. That was like in 1995. So I wasn't the pastor yet. I was just assisting the pastor. So basically an assistant pastor, I was just in training, learning. So you can tell that even before I was the pastor, I was being a pastor in my actions, in what I was doing, in how I was living, and the help I was offering. I'd be calling up the different people from the church to keep in touch with them. In a small church at the time, who don't show up, I'd call and keep in touch. I did other stuff, like I was doing one church, I was doing like 11 different things in that church. I was cleaning the church, like I said, calling and being the main contact to contact people and so on from the church, teaching Sunday school, youth lessons, youth teaching, youth service, and other things, right? So, and evangelism, I was heading, I was doing the work, but I was not fully, I wasn't ordained, but I was doing the work of it. So with more time, had I stayed, then I would have become that officially. At one point, I even took part in doing a wedding, but of course, I wasn't an actual pastor, so I couldn't sign documents. So I was just in training at the time. And in Bible school, they're teaching you about even doing a funeral and so on. So, I was in training for stuff. So you can see I'm coming from way back. My heart was always towards the Lord and towards His Bible. But I didn't know these things at the time. I didn't know the tricks that people use the Bible to teach and to sway people's minds. Now I'm thinking for myself, the Most High is dealing with me. And I am looking at the stuff properly and trying to direct people. Search out your true history on earth, not your history in the Bible. It is not enough what is written. Search out earth so you can find the old paths. Because as far as I know, before there was a Bible written in Hebrew, Israelite, and so on, and before there was a Christian on earth, ancient Africans left Africa and traveled all over the world, Australia, in the Americas, all the way up to North America, what's now called the U.S. because they put a border there, and the other part, Canada. They come all the way up here. Africans did that. We traveled all over the world, Japan, China, everywhere. So search out your history, and they were not Hebrew Israelites. They're just telling you now in modern times that they were Hebrew Israelites. They were just Africans, and whatever African names they went under from the different groups and the parts of Africa that they lived in at the time. These are just Africans. So, check it out. Somebody's sabotaging you from your future and your connection with the Most High, the same way Eli was sabotaging Samuel's growth and connection to the Most High. Sabotaging his future with the Most High, even though he had to give in at the end, it seems. So, he was ministering. So Eli, before he told Samuel, go lay down, go back again and don't lead him into further truth and clarity with the voice of the Lord that Eli already knew. Before all of that, he already knew that Samuel was ministering in the temple. So who was next in line? to be raised up, it would have been Samuel the person right before his eyes. And because he already brought in Samuel by prophesying to his mother that, look, the Lord give you a child or give you children, he would have then known that this whole thing of Samuel coming into his mother coming into pregnancy and now giving the child back to the Lord and now spending his life in the temple, that this is just a setup by the Most High, the God of Israel. This is a setup. This is the young man God is raising up. So Eli knew that Samuel was the one. So he ministered before the Lord, so he's doing the work already, even though he was a child. And what does it say? He was girded with a linen ephod, what the priest would wear. So the young man Samuel even looked the part, even in his dress. How could Eli miss this? He did not miss it. He was lying his way through it. Go back, it's nothing. I didn't call you. That's a lie. The same way your teachers, when they hear your vision or your prophetic statements or your call in your life or your direction that the Lord wants to take you through, they run your way, make you feel like it can't work because they are lying to you about your life. You have to take your life into your own hands with the Most High for yourself. Start directing yourself by the direction you feel inside your spirit with the Creator. Because people will lie to you and tell you, go away with that. The same way Eli was telling Samuel, go away with that, go back to sleep. So, still in 1 Samuel 2, let's go down now to verse 20, 21, and then 26. And then that's it. And verse 20, and Eli blessed Elkanah and his wife, and said, the Lord give thee seed of this woman. So you see the setup? God was arranging the stuff right before Eli's very eyes and with Eli's interaction. From even before the child was in the womb, Eli was already speaking the word of the Most High and setting up his successor, the one who would take over in the temple. He was setting it up. And you're telling me, as a prophetic voice in Israel in the temple, as the priest right there, that Eli could not watch all of this build up and be able to tell and see that this child is the one that's going to be raised up. Eli saw it. Because all these prophets and priests, they were always seeing stuff. They were skilled. They could see, they could tell stuff. I think even Paul in the New Testament, as much as he's his own liar, even he at one point had said, even those who by reason of use have had their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. And you're telling me Eli knows the word of God so much, can hear the word of God so clearly and pronounce all this blessing and so on, and he can see everything else, and finally ended up saying, it is the Lord. Next time say, speak, Lord. So you're telling me all of this, Eli could not have seen this build up, because he himself would have had his senses exercised in the spirit now to discern both good and evil, and to discern when the Lord is moving and when the Lord is not. That's why the people in the land would seek for those who knew God in the land, because they knew the ones who know the Most High, who are connected in the temple and the prophets and so on, would know the mind of the Lord and the work of the Lord. So Eli knew Samuel was the one, but refused to teach him about the light in the temple and refused to tell him at first, it is the Lord, making the man waste time. Hiding the revelation of God, that God is trying to reveal himself to the young man, but Eli was trying to keep Samuel blind. Just like the liars teach you to be blind and teach you to not see, while telling you that they are teaching you to see. But you remain blind because they teach you lies and they deceive you and get you to worship all kinds of things that God never imagined, never wanted you to do, never told you to do. Finish up verse 20, halfway through. The Lord give thee seed of this woman for the loan which is lent to the Lord. See, that's so Eli knew the child would be lent to the Lord. People don't normally just have this set up like that from birth or before birth, the child lent to the Lord. They don't normally. So you're telling me Eli hears the word of the Lord so clearly and can see things in the spirit, and he can't see this child is lent to the Lord, and he can't see that this is a special arrangement. Now Eli knew it all along. So lent to the Lord, and they went unto their own home. Verse 21. And the Lord visited Hannah so that she conceived. You see, God is making sure to get the stuff done. He's moving it on step by step. No break in the store. And bare 3 sons and 2 daughters. And the child Samuel grew where? Before the Lord. The child Samuel cannot grow before the Lord and be lent to the Lord to grow before the Lord, and Eli not know. Because if somebody is grown before the Lord and has such a strong connection with the Lord and is up in the temple like that and so on, how can Eli not know that this person is being sent into the temple and sent into the deeper things of God by the Lord? Then he would have connected the word that the man of God gave to him that said the Lord is going to raise up someone else. You see, Eli could connect all of that, and he knew it and was trying to hold back Samuel, just like liars deceive us year after year, day after day, and keep us trapped in religion so that we cannot find the Creator. He was sabotaging Samuel, just like people today who are teaching lies sabotage your progress and connection to the Most High and your progress in this life. Because if you won't go towards the things of the Lord, how are you going to go properly towards your future in this life, in your other areas of your life? Because one part not done well will just stagnate the other parts of your life or impede you in different kinds of ways. So, verse 26 now. This is the final verse here. And the child Samuel grew on and was in favor both with the Lord and also with men. Eli was sabotaging someone who it was very clear that he was in favor already with God and also with man. He had the combination right there of God and man, favor coming in. So Eli would have known this is a person fitting to be priest or fitting to be prophet or fitting to be king or fitting to be somebody who the people will respect, because the people can see this man has the favor of God upon him. So the people will receive him the same way God has already received him or chosen him. Eli could not miss all of that Samuel was the one in the land who was favored by the Most High and chosen by the Most High and had favor even with the people. Eli knew Samuel was the one before God even called Samuel, but Eli tried to sabotage Samuel's progress with the Most High. So that's why I said in the voice of Eli last week, that lesson, that God had to bypass Eli and go right to Samuel. Because he's like, look, I can't get anywhere with Eli. I couldn't get anywhere with his sons either. So I'm done with him. I'm just going to keep bombarding Samuel's man. I'll keep calling him. Eventually, though, Eli gave in and just said, you know what, I'll just tell him. And that's another lesson I was going to make. Maybe I won't even bother making that. Who knows? That next lesson will be titled, I Will Let Him Know. Because at some point, Eli had to tell himself, instead of saying, go later again, go back to sleep, I didn't call you. At some point, Eli said to himself, I know it's the Lord, but he doesn't know. But you know what? I will let him know. I will let him know. At some point, Eli said to himself, it is the Lord. I can't keep doing this. I will let him know. It is the Lord. But you see, Samuel was going to be on his way anyway, because the Most High was bombarding Samuel's mind, but Samuel was doing something about it as well. Samuel was searching. That's why he got up and went to Eli, because he's searching, where's a voice coming from? He was ministering to the Lord, but did not yet know the Lord. That's why he's searching now. But he's going to search with who he already knows. He's going to search with his teacher, his camp leader, his pastor. Did you call me? When the pastor says, no, I didn't call you. Then he goes back, then he tries to search again. I still heard a voice. So Samuel got up because he was on his search. Because God is bypassing Eli, Eli had to give in because he knows how God works, and he knows he's going to find it anyways. The Lord, I might as well tell him. I will let him know. Are you with honest people who will let you know it is the Lord dealing with you? Are you with honest people who will let you know it is the Lord revealing that doctrine to you? Are you with honest people who will let you know that is the right history of life, of your history, of your people's history, and so on? Are you with honest teachers who will let you know not to resist the Most High, not to resist the truth of history, not to resist plain, simple, old truth, which should be at the inner core of spirituality anyway? Are you with honest people? Or are you with people who are like Eli, who will sabotage your growth the way Eli was attempting to sabotage Samu-El? Seek for the Lord. Seek for your people's history. That's all I'm telling you. Seek wisdom, like the book of Proverbs will tell you. Wisdom is way down in a well. I can't remember the scripture, but it says a man of understanding will draw it out. You got to dig in and search. Dig in and search and draw it out. Find it for yourself. Find the truth in this life for yourself. Because there's a new world coming. There's chaos right now on earth, but there's a new world coming. And the goodness of the Lord will be upon those who choose to walk through this life in sincerity and honesty, who correct their ways, correct their transgressions, put away their sins and say, I'm sorry I was like this, I'm sorry, and try to change their life and seek only truth and seek to live in better ways on the earth. That's who will see the goodness of the Lord. That's why David prayed it like that, that he's changing his ways and clearing up his heart, and he says, that I may see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. And so I'll close with, let's add these two verses, Psalm 27 from David, Psalm 27 verse 12 and 13. He says, deliver me not over unto the will of mine enemies. You see that just like the will of Eli was to keep delaying Samuel's growth. Even though he would have known as well that the light is gone up, because after a while, if you don't do anything about the light, it's going to go out, because Eli has been this priest all his life as well. So he must know now, I am not seeing well, so it is most likely that I am not seeing the light because I don't see well. So if the light's out, it's probably because I can't tell. But he would also know, I used to change the light and fix up the light in the temple, pour in more oil and so on, at certain intervals. So because I haven't done it for a while, the light must be out now, because I've never told Samuel to do that. So the light must be out, but still refuse to tell Samuel, hey, can you check on that lamp? This is how you do it, and here's the oil to fill it up some more. He knows, like I don't know how long that stuff will burn for, but let's say the lamp would burn for like a week, and you have to pour in more oil. He's blind, he can't see well, but he knows 2-3 weeks have passed. Let's just use that for argument's sake. 3 weeks have passed, and he has not changed it because he can't even find the lamp anyway. He can't see properly. But he must know 3 weeks, the lamp must be out for so long, and he will not open his mouth and tell Samuel. I'm telling you, he was sabotaging Samuel. People can read the Bible and teach you the most fancy, powerful Bible lessons, and be teaching you lies about your history, and lies about God, and lies about who you should worship, but will not tell you that they are tricking you. You must search. So now, it's like Eli's will was just to treat the situation like this and to sabotage Samu-El, because he didn't care anymore, because that's just where his heart was at. But David said, deliver me not over unto the will of mine enemies, for false witnesses are risen up against me, and such as breathe out cruelty. I had fainted, unless I had believed to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. That's what I want to see. For myself, I want you to see it as well. That's why I teach these things, to make sure you have an opportunity to find the Lord for yourself, so you can be included in seeing the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. This is the Eli Sabotage, Yalok Study Notes, Torah Commentary, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon. Thank you once again for listening to my lesson.